Hi, my name is Jen. I'm an American citizen and I am married to a Malaysian citizen and we have a 5-month-old baby. So this video is about how we got his CRBA or CRBA, and we're going to go through the process, things that we needed to bring, and what actually happened on the interview itself. So I got my checklist here. This is what the embassy actually emailed me, and we're going to start from A to J. The first thing you'll need is forms. So these forms are provided by the embassy themselves. You can get them through their website. We will put up a picture of that on here. And basically you're going to need one form, which is the application for your consular report of birth abroad. And it's about, how many pages? 5 or 6 pages long. It didn't take that long to fill out, but it kind of depends. You have to fill out one section where they want to know all your entries and exits into the United States of America, and also for your husband. So that we've traveled quite a bit, so we had to flip through our passport book and find which stamp went where, and that took a little bit of time. But if you've only traveled a few places, then this should be really fast for you to fill. The other thing that we needed to bring was a application for a U.S. passport for our son, because not only were we applying for the CRBA, but we were also applying for his U.S. passport at the same time, so we needed both of those documents. So what you'll do is you'll fill those out, and then you'll copy them and send them to the embassy, and then they also want you to bring the original documents. All right, section B, you're gonna need the birth certificate and passport of your child if you have one. And for the birth certificate, if it's in another language other than English, they're gonna want you to get that translated by a certified translator. Thankfully for Malaysia, they have it in Malay and then in English right next to it, so that was not a problem for us. And you're gonna want the original certificate and bring a copy just in case. And in fact, you have to mail the copy into them before you even have the interview. Under C, father's current passport and any previous passports. D is the same. This is mother's current passport and any previous passports. So I have one older passport book that I had saved, plus my new current one. And then my husband had an older passport book, but he threw it away. So they didn't seem to be too concerned about that. I think it's more if you are the American citizen, they want to have as much proof of your status as possible. E, parents' marriage certificate, divorce decree, or death certificate. So if you were married before and your husband or your spouse died, you'll need that certificate, or if you have a divorce, you'll need that. For us, we just have our marriage certificate. So we brought the original plus the copy. Again, you're going to need to send the copy into them before the interview itself. F, U.S. parents, so the American parent, that would be me. Some kind of proof that I was actually an American citizen. So I had my birth certificate, but again, you might have your own CRBA, or you might have certificate of citizenship or certificate of naturalization. Sorry, it's that weird, but anyway, so you're going to need any of those. That's just the proof that you are from the United States. Again, I just gave them, well, we'll talk about that later. And G, all documents that show the mother was pregnant and delivered a baby. So this is quite interesting. They don't tell you this on the website itself. They do tell you, if you have proof that the parents were both in the same place at the time of the conception, like passport stamps or a plane ticket or something like that. But they didn't mention so specifically as they did in this email. So they said bring hospital bill, receipts for doctor's visits, ultrasound, photos taken during pregnancy and at the hospital, no electronic photos, so you had to go print them out, hospital bracelets, and medical reports. So I brought, I have this pink book that all Malaysians get when they get pregnant and they're being seen by a healthcare provider. And so that has all my information from my nurses, from my doctors. they clipped my ultrasound photos in there, appointments, all that stuff. So I brought that and I copied a few pages that I felt were like important. Like when they took my blood, me and my husband's blood to find out what blood type we were, the ultrasound pages, any notes that were from the doctor themselves and not from the nurse. Just in case. What else did I bring? I brought my hospital bracelet. Unfortunately, my husband threw away our baby's hospital bracelet. He's not quite that sentimental type, and I had just given birth, so I didn't bother to dig it out of the trash. What else? I brought all the hospital bills, and I think I made a couple copies of those as well. What else? Yeah, and then like I said, I printed a bunch of photos. So like I had taken my week by week pregnancy photos, so I had printed that, our maternity photos, the photos when we were at the hospital. So I had brought all those things. H, proof of U.S. citizen parents' physical presence in the United States before the birth of the child. So this is different from just your passport or like a driver's license or even of your birth certificate. They wanted concrete evidence such as like school, college, university transcripts, old passports with clear entry stamps, any kind of documents. They talked about like tax paper or if you've done your taxes before, if you ever rented or you're paying some kind of bills like that, they'd want copies of those receipts. So for me, I only brought my high school and college degree and diploma, and I brought my tax forms. I brought the originals, plus I made photocopies of them. And that was all I really had besides my passports as far as evidence goes. Photos for the passport. So that's your child's, if they're gonna get a passport, they need the little, what is it, like 2x2 with a white background. And usually you get 4 of those. They ask you to bring 2. I ended up only needing to use 1 while I was there. And then last but not least, J, fees. So the CRBA or the CRBA was $100 US, and the passport was $115 US. And of course, your local embassy, they will take USD or the local currency, or like we ended up using our credit card as well. Or it can be one of those debit cards that act as a credit card, but they say no debit cards. So those were the items that were listed that we needed to bring. Anyway, we'll get into the story of what actually happened on the interview itself in one moment. So here's the story of what happened for me and my husband when we went to the U.S. Embassy. And so you keep hearing me say CRBA. Okay, it's not actually called that. It's a CRBA, which stands for Consular Report of Birth Abroad. But when we were doing the interview guy called it a CRBA. So I thought that was a pretty cool nickname, and it's easier to say. So what happened was we got all the documents ready that they asked us to make copies of and mail the embassy, all these. So it was our marriage certificate, our child's birth certificate, our passport, like copies of our passport photos, the application, so the CRBA application, and I think it was just those 4 things that we actually had to make copies of and mail to them. Then the embassy contacted us through email to make an appointment to actually go in for the interview itself. And they were very strict about that. They said, do not contact us until after 2 weeks of mailing that in. And so the thing is, me and my husband were supposed to go to Hawaii January 20th, okay? And when we mailed it, it was November 20th. So I thought, well, I'm sure we have enough time, I thought it would be very fast. I don't know why I thought that. And then after 2 weeks, we hadn't heard anything from them. So I'm like, okay, now it's December. And I can just imagine, we only have 1 month left. December, the end of December, there's a bunch of holidays, Christmas and New Year. So like embassy's going to be closed, or people are going to be just, busy. Maybe they won't be able to do stuff. So I called them the next day after 2 weeks. They were very friendly on the phone, but they were like, look, we're on a first come, first serve. So they got my application in November. They've gotten other people's application in October, and they're still working on those interviews. So I was like, oh, then how, you know? So thankfully I spoke up and I explained to her that we were just leaving January 20th. So what should we do in case he doesn't get his passport in time? So once I said that, she says, oh, well, let me make a note on your file that it's urgent. She says, it's true, we do first come, first serve, but we also do it case by case. So like if you have an emergency or it's urgent for some reason, then they're gonna step you up to speed up the process for you. And she didn't even say it like as in, well, we'll try to get you in, we'll see what happens, and here's the option B if it doesn't work out. She was just like, yeah, we're gonna put a little note on there and we'll let you know soon. So I was like, okay. And I think that day she emailed us in the afternoon and asked us for to fill out his passport application and email that to them, because they don't ask you to mail that in the beginning. But because ours was like we needed to speed up the process, we were able to email them a PDF of it. Okay, so then they also made the appointment the following day. So that was great. They emailed us, they said, here's your appointment date. That's when they emailed us that list of A through J, the time you have to be there, all that stuff. You know, if you arrive 30 minutes late, they're going to cancel your appointment, all that. So we just needed to get all those documents and information ready, right? So I got nervous because I'm seeing this like list of things you need to bring, especially the ones where it says proof of, you know, the pregnancy and delivery of the baby. That one kind of surprised me that they wanted like photos and, you know, hospital bracelets, hospital bills, all this stuff. Like I'm like, wow, they're pretty serious. Like, what if they don't believe this is my baby? And then I started getting nervous thinking like, well, maybe, are we gonna pass this interview? Is my kid gonna get his American passport? Is he gonna get this CRBA thing? You know, I don't know. So I got really nervous, but I'm just gonna tell you, don't be nervous. It was like super easy. So anyways, I got all that stuff ready. Printed photos, this like fat binder full of filed, everything was the original as well as a photocopy. And so it was all ready. The night before we checked it again. I made sure the money was in there, and I had USD. And then the next day we went there, we got about an hour early, 30 minutes early before our appointment. We went in, we sat down, there were a couple other families in the room, and then they called us up, and it was very fast. Like basically they just wanted to recheck my kid's name, like so how it will look on the passport photo itself, right? Because there's the surname or your family or your last name, and then there's the first name and the middle name. So in Malaysia, the way they write that is usually if you have an English name, they put that in the front, then the family name or your surname, and then the Chinese name, right? So my husband is Chinese Malaysian. So he doesn't really have a middle name. So anyway, they just wanted to confirm like, how is it gonna look on the passport? So we ended up going with his first name, his Chinese name being the middle name, and then of course our last name. And then they didn't ask to see any of those other things. They didn't ask us for any photocopies like they had said to bring, but they just wanted to see the original of our marriage cert, my birth certificate, and our passports. That was it. And then the baby's birth certificate. So they took that, we sat down, they called us in, we paid the fee. And this, by the way, I gave them a $100 bill. And they said, oh, well, this is not the new one. Apparently there's a new $100 bill with like a blue line on it. And so I had the old one, and I was like, I didn't even know there was a new bill, I'm sorry. So she's like, oh, well, let me check with the treasurer to see if they can accept this or not. So they ended up not accepting it. Thankfully, my husband could use his debit/credit card, and then that was okay. So just so you know, if you're going to use USD, try to use like the most current notes possible if you can. Ours was money that we got in cards from our baby shower, so, and I'm living in Malaysia, so I didn't even know that there was a new bill. Yeah, so we paid the fee, we sat down, we waited a bit longer. They called us up again to check his name, how they wanted it in the passport book. And then finally they called us in for the interview, And the guy was really nice. He was just like, you know, he looked at our baby and he's like, hey buddy, how's it going? And then he's just typing away and he's asking, he's like, so you were born which state? And then, okay, so did you go to school there? Okay. And did you go to university there or just college? Oh, just college, okay. And that was about it. And then he just like chatted with me about, you know, how's the baby? Is he sleeping? What else? We talked about what state he was from, how he liked living in Malaysia. Like, it was very comfortable. And I think for me, it was not stressful at all. They didn't even, in the end, he never asked to see any of those photos of my pregnancy, birth, and delivery. They didn't ask to see any of the hospital bills or like my pregnancy book or the bracelet. They didn't even ask to see my like evidence, like my college degree or certification. They didn't ask to see any of the tax papers. None of that. So yeah, it went very fast. And then he says, okay, you have 10 days. They should contact you by email to get their passport. And as far as the CRBA, he said sometimes we might get it together and sometimes they might send it later or first, it doesn't matter. And that was it. So it was so easy. I didn't need to be nervous at all. It took about 2 hours because there's waiting time. You know, you get there, they're interviewing other people, and then they're also going back and forth processing all your information for your baby's CRBA and passport. So, but as far as being nervous, like I got declined, or they said, oh, there's not enough evidence that you have actually lived in the United States. It was a total mute issue as far as that, so that was great. And I think it depends on case-by-case situation. I think depending on the interviewer, depends on the family. Like my husband was with me, we brought our baby with me. So maybe if it was just the parent, one parent going in with the baby, they might be they need more information there. Or if things just look off, or they just get a bad feeling or vibe, then they might want a little bit more evidence that yes, you are an American citizen, yes, you've lived in the U.S. for like more than 10 years or something like that. But I think if they look and they're like, oh, the family's all here, baby looks like mom and dad, talking to mom, she's definitely American, my passport book, everything was just very nice. I think they'll say like, yeah, they will believe you, so it was fine. So yeah, that was all. Only thing I can think of that might be helpful is can't think of anything. Anyway, so all the best to you. Yes, go online, read all the information about it, print out everything, fill it out, make copies, send them in. Whatever they tell you to bring, just bring. Do that all ahead of time, early, like 2 weeks early. Check the day before you go in your file that everything is there. Make sure you took well in advance before a flight that you have where you're going to need your kid's passport, so you're not like us with this feeling of like urgency and what if we don't get it in time. And do know that your U.S. Embassy is really helpful. They're going to work with you if you have an emergency or it's urgent. Just let them know that. Like you have a legit reason, not that you just want to say, do me first, you know. And yeah, you should have no problem getting it. All the best. So once again, definitely check the U.S. Embassy's website for all the information you're going to need before you go in for your interview. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hope to see you again on here.